Welcome back, everybody, to Englewood Camera Shop Talk. We are talking about some exciting news. It is a momentous day.
We've been talking about this day since April, Mitch.
Yeah, it feels like I've been talking about this camera for the last 2 years.
Every person that comes in the camera shop is like, oh, what do you think about the new Eos R5? And, oh, there's a 6, and they don't even know there's a 6.
Yeah. Well, it just feels like for the last 4 years, we've been talking about, well, when Canon comes out with a professional camera, it'll be good. A professional mirrorless camera. It'll be good. So it just feels good to have a good, solid mirrorless option that isn't Sony, that has 2 card slots.
Yep.
That's it. It's got all this cool stuff. It's basically a Sony camera, but it's got dual card slots now, which is great, and a CF Express, which is awesome. I don't want to talk about all the specs right away, but I'm probably excited about the one thing that nobody cares about, which is the
you almost got
rung up on that one.
You got spicy on a Thursday.
Yeah, nobody's breaking my ankles today. I caught myself with the CF Express card. I think it's pretty cool. So
it's pretty neat. I think it seems to be a pretty cool camera. The price point isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Me either. We got caught up in that thing that was, I guess, maybe not true, with the big,
those Australians, man,
huge price point. That's unreachable price for a camera like that, and it just isn't the case. It's what is it? $3,900?
$3,900.
3,900. So
3,900. It's $5. The hefty price is $5,000. $5,000 with the kit lens.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't want the kit lens. I don't know, man. Am I gonna switch? Do you think I'm gonna switch?
Are you gonna switch? I mean,
I would not hate having a 50 or an 85 one too.
Yeah, those and oh my gosh, dude, hold on, jeez. All right.
I'm gonna have to close my blinds in a second because I thought I had cloud cover, and then Colorado was like, nope. One second. Let me just do that.
Yeah, you just do it before we get down to the nitty gritty.
How do I work blinds?
At least you don't have cats tearing apart your blinds.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good job, son.
The
sun from millions of miles away found a way to...
It's right on your forehead.
Hit me right in the head.
Got up and you went to make sure it didn't happen.
That is boom headshot right there. I can't even escape it. There we go.
There you go. But then you lose your cool purple mood lighting.
Well,
I don't know. It's artsy. You look like you.
There we go.
There we go. It's
decent. All right. Anyways, Canon mirrorless cameras. Well, you know what I think we should talk a little bit about, since the headline's been the R5. I feel like we've known a lot about the R5 for some time, but the R6 is kind of a sudden
the R6
sudden blow.
It's a pretty interesting camera, and for the price point, it could be an A7 III killer.
Could be.
It could be. So let's pull up these specs. Hold on.
Do we know the price of the R6?
We do. We do know the price of the R6. So I'm going to pull this up, and we're going to go over. Give me 1 second. We are going to share my screen. A little rusty, folks. It's going to be fine. So the R6, it still shoots 20 frames a second, which is pretty crazy to me that they just kept it. They didn't dumb it down at all.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I guess I didn't look at anything or see any images from the electronic shutter, but I want to know if it's as fast of a readout speed as what the A9 has. So the A9 doesn't have that distortion from the readout from the top of the sensor to the bottom when you take the photo. So I don't know if this is the same.
Okay.
Could be. I mean, I would hope, the one thing I hope it has is a higher shutter speed, like a maximum shutter speed, not frames per second, but shutter speed. So like I would like to see it go to like a 32,000th of a second in electronic shutter, primarily because if you have a 50 or an 85 1.2 like they offer for these cameras, then you could shoot that wide open outdoors in any light without a filter, which would be great. So
it would be kind of nice, yeah. And Canon's not really in the business of selling filters, so
yeah, Canon, you don't want to do that.
They have filters, but
make your cameras better than filters, Canon. Come on.
Yep. And so, but let me go over I'll put all the information on our Facebook, so
I'm still getting blasted by the sun. How can I not?
Let's go. Between you and me, Mitch, the viewers are packing in. All right. And so they want to know.
Well, I hope everybody enjoys my horrible haircut during this time.
There you go.
And
they want to know who cut your hair. No. So the R6, 20 megapixels, which is the same sensor, right, as the 1DX Mark III.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Impressive. Yeah.
So do you think that R6 is going to be a little bit better in low light than the R5 then?
It might be. I mean, hey, Glenn, welcome.
You and your gigabit internet froze for a second.
That was you, bro.
Oh,
maybe it was you. I don't know. But in low light, is the R6 going to perform better in low light than the R5?
It could.
It could. I mean, more megapixels doesn't mean it shoots better in low light. Actually, it probably means the opposite. And with my A7R4, I feel like my A7R3 performed better in low light. So I would say that it probably will perform better in low light than the 5. But
the 1DX Mark III is really good in low light, so that's
right.
We'll hope for the same performance out of that. And I saw one video online of it was the Camera Store TV Canadian channel. I think they were the only ones I could find that had like an on-screen demonstration of the autofocus at work.
Sure.
And it looked real sticky, looked real nice. The eye autofocus looked great on there.
Yeah.
So they both share that though. The R6 and the R5 have the same autofocus system.
They have eye, face, head detection for humans, and they have eye, face, and body detection for animals.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So when little Porter here,
that includes birds, by the way.
When Porter here gets bigger, I can take his picture more effectively. He says
the bird thing is important because I think the Sony animal detection, although it works pretty well, like I just used it a couple of days ago with my friend's dog. We were on a road trip, and it works great, but it doesn't detect birds.
Okay.
And so if you're a birder,
right,
that
this
Canon's
is going to connect. This is going to detect birds.
It'll detect birds. I would assume it'll do eyes for birds too.
That'd be pretty crazy. Okay.
Maybe you could use that the 800 millimeter f11.
F11. We were talking about that too. That's an interesting lens. I don't think they dropped. Did they drop prices on those things?
I don't know. They have to be inexpensive. It looked like they collapsed too. They get smaller, which I guess is kind of cool. If they're not like, if they're 1,000 or less, I would say worth it to just have in the bag, as long as it doesn't weigh a ton. Anyway, we'll talk about the R6 still.
So the R6 4K up to 60 frames a second, 1080 up to 120 frames per second. Yeah,
very nice. Yeah, 4K 60. I think there's like a very small crop to it, but hey, man, that's what Canon users have been asking for. So rejoice, Canon shooters.
Yeah, and then in-body stabilization, and supposedly, when you put a lens on that has image stabilization as well.
Oh yeah,
it combines. Whereas like a lot of other brands, I feel like one or the other is canceling the other one out, right?
It does. Well, for Sony, I know it works together.
Oh, does it? Okay, because I was like trying to remember which brand it was. I was like,
could have been Nikon.
Maybe it was Nikon. But no, we'd have no one to contact at Nikon to fact check that, so we don't care. But if it's $8.99. There we go. On the website.
Thank you for that information. That's
It's a good price
hey
for an
man,
800 millimeter lens.
yeah, f11 is weird, but if you need that, just that look,
Better
that
have a clean
ultra
sensor.
compressed look, it would work well at like an air show.
That would
Tons
be
of light
cool.
in an air show. So
Yeah, you could shoot the moon.
Mhm.
You could shoot a solar eclipse.
Oh yeah, definitely. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea of an 800 f11 for less than $1,000.
It's interesting.
Cool. Yeah,
it's interesting. Can we get so that's like the EOS R6. It doesn't have a top screen, so they got rid of the LED screen on the top that the EOS R5 is going to have.
Yeah.
So you won't have a screen to look at all your settings.
But that takes the place of the mode dial. So the mode dial took our standard traditional mode dial that everybody's used to now took the place of that screen.
Yeah.
Kind of. I think either way, you'd be happy if you had the screen. You'd be like, cool, I got an LED screen on the top of my camera. If you had a standard mode dial, you'd be like, nice, I have a standard mode dial. So
I mean, and you have that viewfinder, you know. So you just half the time I don't even look at the top of my camera anymore. Glenn is saying all lenses should cost $1 a millimeter.
Oh wow! So a 12 millimeter lens would be really cheap. That'd be great.
It would be so much easier. Oh, I mean, that was not his professional. That was his professional opinion. That was not. I didn't read the other half of that statement. He said it would make the 8 millimeter lens nice and affordable too. Yeah, you could buy that 14. You could buy those big old wide angle super telephoto, or not super telephoto, but those super wide fast lenses for real cheap. Then Glenn.
Wheezy G, everybody cleaning their Sony cameras out and they're going to go sell them. Yeah, we'll probably see a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, I think. It's not the end of the world for Sony shooters given the cost. The cost is a big factor too because how much is the R6?
The R6 is going to be the R6 is coming in at $2,500 for the body.
Okay, so still we're still substantially less for an A7 III. They're very similar still.
I feel like we're at the part where Sony was getting taken seriously and Canon shooters were ready to go.
Yeah.
And so then people started shifting, but it cost people a lot of money.
Yeah.
To totally just abandon ship.
Like if I switched and I'm pretty invested in Sony, it would still cost me many thousands.
Right.
And part of that is the lenses, the lenses that you really want, you know, apart from these cool, you know, little novelty ones like the 800 f11.
Yeah.
You know, their professional lenses cost almost actually more than the R6 itself. So it's still going to be expensive to go this route, but it's really good.
Exactly.
It's really good. I mean, that's how it was when Sony was coming out. It was really expensive. It still is, but they've had some time to mature and offer some affordable stuff like their 85 1.8 and 35 1.8 and all those cheaper lenses. And then Tamron, there's all kinds of third-party manufacturers that already have E-mount lenses. So Canon still has catching up to do in the lens department, but the body now is already caught up, I would say. They're neck and neck. So
for sure. Before we get to the lenses, let's go to the EOS R5. Can we do that?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's the one. I think the R6 is cool, but I'm about the R5.
Right on. So the EOS R5, it's I found this on their website. They made like a dedicated cool looking page for it. So we're just gonna kind of read off the website. Yes, we all know you could do this at home, but you're tuning in for our
professional opinion.
All right, and so the EOS R5, it's full frame. Boom, it's important, right? I'm joking. Let's get down to the real stuff. It's got dual card slots. It's got a UHS 2, right? And then it's got the Mitch, you know more about this stuff than I do.
Right? Oh.
All right. It's got the UHS 2 slot, and then it's got the CF Express card slot. So that's kind of cool.
That's super exciting. I don't really want to gloss over that. That CF Express card is that's probably what gives this camera its ability to do the 8K recording. 8K, I saw somebody did the math on that. is like 3 minutes of a 64 gig card. So,
oh, really?
So yeah, you're gonna need like a terabyte card. But if you want to do a lot of 8K, I mean, I don't know how many people are doing it, but 4K, 120 frames per second, that's really cool too. All that stuff is made possible probably by that card, because it probably the read and write speed of those cards is so fast, and the card itself is a little bit bigger. It can probably withstand that extreme amount of data going through so quickly. So it's not a ton of heat going through. I also saw some of the hands-on pictures of it. It's not a small camera.
Is it bigger than the regular EOS R?
Yeah, it's bigger, and it's like it looks a little thicker. So really, I don't think this is going to be saving a ton of weight, but it's the
it does look a little thicker.
Expansion of heat will help a lot too, because this is I think there is like a 20-minute limit on the 8K, but
sure,
still not bad. I mean, nobody really asked for 8K. They're just like, here. So
right,
it'd be pretty cool.
And it's raw.
Yeah, that's that. I still am kind of. I haven't even looked at that yet. I just saw raw in there, and I was like, whoa, that's gonna blow up everyone's computer, but that's still cool.
Awesome. Apple's over here like rejoicing. It has 5-axis image stabilization, which is pretty sweet. And then to go back on what we were talking about, if you combine that with a lens that has image stabilization, you're looking at something like 8 stops of
that's really good.
Find me out there hand holding that 25th of a second, Mitch.
Yeah, that'll really help that 800 f11.
That's true. I'm out there hand holding Milky Way shots.
Oh yeah, is that what's going to happen? Well, then you can't drop your tripod in the lake. Then
that's true. We're gonna go. We're gonna detour here, and Mitch and I went. Did we already talk about this? Did we have a show since?
Yeah,
we had a show. Okay, so everyone knows that I dropped my tripod.
Long story short, Kyle went
in Bear Lake
shooting. He dropped a tripod, and
but my camera was on my shoulder, and that's all that mattered. But no one else could see because it was a new moon, so everyone thought that I had just submerged my entire setup.
Yep, that was a heart-sinking moment.
Yeah. Mitch cried, and I told him to wipe his tears because everything was going to be fine. And then, so 12 frames per second mechanical shutter, up to 20 frames per second silent shutter, but still no specs on the fastest shutter speed. Okay, maybe it's somewhere, but it's not on their website.
Can we talk about something that Canon did really well? Let's talk about just them as a company. They listened to people, which is a really good sign. It's just nice to see a company listen. I think that's why Sony gained a lot of fans so quickly, is because they made changes rapidly based on people's complaints. I think that was a big part of why they got so popular so fast. And it took longer for Canon to come out with this, but they got rid of that stupid touch bar. Right. Maybe you love the touch bar, but generally,
no one loves the touch
nobody
bar.
Loves the touch bar. And the there's the single card slot was a problem.
Right.
Those are major changes, and stuff like that with a tech company. I would consider Canon a tech company. Right. Stuff like that. I guess Apple is the real example, but usually they just assume they're right about everything, and they release something. People complain about it. There's a lot of backlash about it, and they just double down and do it even harder to create their own segment. So it's like, I'm glad they didn't just say, nope, we're right about the touch bar. It's the way of the future. It's better. It's more efficient, whatever. No, they just gave us a standard joystick, even if we hardly ever use it because of all the automated autofocus modes and the touch bar or the touch screen where you can move your thumb around, which works well. It's just a familiar control to have that's going to help a lot of photographers transition from their beloved 5Ds and 1Ds over to this camera to just have a similar control layout, as well as that the scroll wheel down there. That's a major welcome sight.
Scroll wheels are so nice, and why camera companies don't put them on their first gen cameras and then just go, oh, we remember. It's probably why, because they want you to
buy one and then buy the next one. Yeah. That's the same theory with the Peak Design tripod. The next one will have the pan function.
Head. Yeah, exactly. Do you remember the old wheels, the little control wheels? They were the size of a pepperoni.
Yeah, they were big. And the whole thing spun. It wasn't there was
no button in the middle. It was gigantic, and if your hand got greasy, you would just slip off the wheel. It was just so big.
Yeah.
But those are like on those original like 1D ends and stuff like that.
Well, it's nice too because okay, we live in Colorado. It gets really cold at the high altitudes and stuff. Even in the summer, if you want to go up past 1,000 feet, it gets really cold. So you need gloves. And I can use my Sony with gloves, but it's got a joystick, and that's like 80% of the reason why I can use it with gloves is because the joystick, I can just leave my big giant thumb on it,
right,
and not have to fiddle with a bunch of buttons. This same thing. This is going to make it so much easier to manipulate controls with big gloves on. So that'll really help.
Exactly. Well, that was a cool little video. It's give me 1 second. It's 45 megapixels, Mitch.
That's sweet. It's a good number. I think that's a sweet spot.
Yeah, 45 isn't too much. I admit at every show, and I admit it like every day at the camera shop, that 61 megapixels on my, or whatever, 60 plus megapixels on my Sony is just too many megapixels.
It is a lot. It's not always bad, but it is a lot.
It's a lot. I don't crop very often. So, but 45 on my A7R3 was beautiful. I loved it. The file sizes were nice. They didn't get my phone or computer all angry. So, and then they have the new processor too. So
sweet.
It should be fast.
Yeah.
We kind of went over this stuff already, but just all this makes me wonder why they even came out with the 1DX Mark III why
the 1DX Mark III. It's the mount.
That's true.
Why. If you put their current lenses on this R5, it's not going to have, as they say, astonishing autofocus. It'll be good. It'll be very good. It'll probably be better even still than a 5D, but I doubt it's as good as a 1DX
with a native lens,
with a native 600, 400 millimeter prime, which is that's what you need. And I don't think the pro sports, I don't think every pro sports shooter is ready
to go mirrorless
to move over. And I think it's a slow, gradual transition. This will probably be the camera that gets a lot of them to start inching that way. They'll probably get this one to have, but they'll still have their 1DX.
For a real world comparison for people who have never been in a press room before, and we can go off current events. If you shoot on a Sony right now, or if you used to shoot on a Sony, say you shot on a Sony 2 years ago when it was brand new, people looked at you like, I don't want to give, this is a bad comparison. I'm not gonna do it, Mitch.
Basically, your gear looked.
People
perceive larger cameras as better, and even not just other photographers in the area, which they know better, but they're just being probably jerks about it. But the general public, or somebody who's, like you're saying, in a press conference room or something like that, they see somebody with a camera that isn't a built-in grip sports body like a D5 or a 1DX, and they go, well, that must not be professional. Yeah, it's the same thing at weddings too. In fact, I knew people that would take their Sony because it had fantastic autofocus before Canon really had a good mirrorless option, and because the high autofocus was the new thing, and it was so easy to nail it and stuff. But they would still carry their Canon over the shoulder just to look the part, and it has so much of an effect for your overall confidence at a professional shoot like that. So that's it is a big thing. I don't really think this Canon's gonna look that small though. It looks like it's almost big. 5D sized, which is a good and a bad thing. It's good for maybe durability. The larger buttons probably won't break off so easily. They won't get so gummed up with dirt and stuff. Like on the Sony, sometimes you get sticky buttons because they're so small, and if a piece of sand gets in there, it's like that's it. So the bigger buttons that are probably sealed a little bit better too, makes it a little easier to seal it. Maybe a little bit more just overall durable. But the downside, we started the mirrorless journey as full frame DSLR quality in a small package, and we've every year inched further and further and further away from that. And they still offer things like the RP, which is smaller, but it lacks so many different things that make it, a pro camera. So it's always a trade-off. But this is still cool. I think Canon's right to make it bigger. because I think majority of professionals really don't care how big their camera is. They just want it to work. They want it to perform. And Sony started off selling their stuff to professional photographers who weren't using that camera for work, but wanted something just like their work camera to travel with, which was nice. And then all of a sudden they were like, wait, we want to also shoot our pro gigs with this too. So
and so the it's weather sealed, drip and dust has a drip and dust resistant body.
Yeah.
And it has a fully articulating LCD screen, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
very handy. It's nice that you can flip those. You can flip it around and have the non-LCD side facing out so that you can protect it.
Right.
If it's over your shoulder and it's brushing up against like zippers and stuff like that, you got a jacket on. That really helps. Not just the weather sealing though, but just to have a Canon and take advantage of their repair services. Their repair services are way more trusted and reliable, especially we do repairs we don't do them in our shop, but we send people's cameras to authorized repair facilities like Canon or Precision Camera for Sony, and we just have noticeably better turnaround times and just quality of work with Canon. They also send a little, it's like a nice touch, they send a little card with the name of the person who worked on your camera on it back with you, and it's done by Canon themselves, the actual company, not some third-party repair facility. It's actually Canon. So that's, you get the weather sealing, but you could probably go a step further in treating your camera like crap with the Canon than you could a Sony, because you could have the confidence knowing you could just send it to Canon if something really went wrong. This could cost a lot of money, but it'll actually get done.
Yeah, it'll get work. I think the fastest turnaround, I mean, we're in the middle of this like pandemic thing, and we sent a camera out that I was like, oh boy, this isn't looking good. Like this camera is this is it was one of those repairs that comes in and you're like, I don't want to tell you how much it's going to cost you. And I think it was back like 9 days later.
Wow. That is really quick.
For someone that doesn't have like a CPS membership, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah. And that's the other, we didn't even talk about the CPS membership. If
I'm about to not renew my CPS membership this year.
Because of that, because it took 9 days to get back.
No, yeah, exactly.
Did they send you a loaner in CPS?
They will send you a loaner. I did platinum this year, so they sent me like a Mindshift bag and a bunch of rear caps and body caps, which was sweet because they know that I lose those all the time.
Oh wow.
And they'll send you a loaner. This is a little bitter spot for me because I'm bitter about it because when the Rockies made the playoffs 2 years ago, I was a CPS member and I gave them like a month's notice and I asked for like a 800 and a 600 because you you get one loaner a year of like every focal length.
Oh wow, that's
cool. Yeah. Cool. And they said it wasn't available and they couldn't loan it to me, and I was like, I gave them a month's notice, and I was just so bummed. It's like there's nothing else going on. It's just baseball playoffs. There's no other like big sports.
Yeah. Well, there's only so many 800s out there.
That's true. I think I started with asking for a 6 and went from there. But the price for this, Mitch, the price for the Eos R5 is going to be $3,900 for body only and $5,000 for the kit.
Is that with the 24 to 105, the L?
Yeah, the L series f4.
I mean, with that's a good lens. If this is your first full frame camera and you've got that money, you should probably go with the R6. But if you are doing well and you want to spend that much money on the R5 with that kit lens, that's a great option if you don't already have any other Canon lenses.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the body, 4,900. I don't think it's terrible for what it offers. Really, really good stuff in there that I think is worth the price. Obviously it's outrageously expensive, but that's what we say about every full frame mirrorless camera.
Exactly. And it might come down in price. Who knows? Maybe it comes down in price in 6 months.
Well, speaking of coming down in price, just think about what the original R is going to be, because the R is not a bad camera. If you're not doing it professionally and you want to travel a lot and you just want to take pictures of family, friends, or just get started in general, you could shoot professionally with the R, and as long as you're okay with risking the one card slot. that camera is probably going to drop even more, and it's currently what, 18?
It's like $1,699.
Is that really?
Yeah, 1,700 maybe. I don't know, but it's around that price.
Yeah.
You know? So,
but that's cool too. I mean, the price of everything, and then ultimately the competition. So Sony could maybe Sony doesn't have anything to really answer the R5 as far as video specs go.
right.
But the good part is that it's just going to drive everybody's prices down. Sony will come back with something,
Right.
And because they're not just going to. I know people are like, "Oh, Sony's giving up." I'm like, they have so many lenses they just spent 10 years developing. They're not just going to quit. Right?
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah. All that R&D and all that marketing that went into that, they're not just like going to lay down. They announced the almost 10 million dots for their viewfinders on the new A7 III or whatever is coming out.
Oh, yeah, or they have the A7S3 coming out.
Yeah, A7S3 and then the A7 IV. So good stuff from them coming too. But because of this is a big driver for it. I bet without this kind of push from the R5, we wouldn't see that kind of improvement.
I think competition is good for the camera business, and there hasn't been a ton. So, but they released a couple new lenses too, Mitch.
Yeah, these are cool.
Cool. So this is an wrong window. This is an 85 f2 macro. So you could, shoot portraits.
Yeah.
But you can also use it as a macro lens. And
that would be a sweet wedding lens for sure.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to change lenses for like those ring shots or like the detail shots.
Definitely.
So, but let me see. Let me zoom in out here. A max magnification of 0.5 times and the minimum focusing distance of 1.15 feet. So, I mean, 1.15 feet at 85 is pretty close up.
Yeah, that is really close. Most 85s I've used have pretty terrible close focusing distances, actually. So,
right.
That'll be a really cool lens for sure.
It's an f2, so you're still getting a pretty decent amount of light. And then it's optically stabilized. It's got 5 stops of shake correction, which is pretty neat. So you combine that with the image stabilization on the R5 or the R6, you're getting like 8 stops of stabilization, which is pretty crazy.
Probably not a very big filter thread on that either.
Let's zoom in. It is, they don't tell you. It looks kind of small though. I'm guessing I bet you 67.
It's no bigger than the actual mount, so probably 67, about that size.
Let's see. It's got hybrid image stabilization. Hybrid image stabilization compensates for angular and shift camera shake during macro shooting, which is like my biggest pet peeve with macro lenses because you're so close and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
If you're not on a tripod or something like that. And then it's got a control ring for direct setting changes that you can obviously set up, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
So big fan of that lens.
And that's pretty affordable too, that one.
Right. Yeah. That lens, I don't know. Yeah. That was
less than $1,000.
Less than $1,000. Well, the 800 millimeter was less than $1,000. Hold on. Yeah. I'm doing some research here. Let's see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, folks. 85 f2. Oh, I don't even have it on there. There we go. It's gonna be this is gonna be $599.
Hey, that's
a $600 85 f2 macro.
It's a really great lens to have in the lineup. Is a $600 85.
Right.
That's gonna fill in a big gap in their lineup at the moment, especially since this is really going to be a very popular wedding camera. But just about like every wedding photographer who's not shooting a D750 has a 5D Mark IV or 3.
Right. And
this is definitely the R6 or the R5, whatever your budget is the camera you've been waiting for, probably, if you haven't already switched to Sony. So, and then that 85, you have to have an 85 if you're shooting weddings, right? It's like a rule.
Right.
So this is
everyone who comes in to get their lens calibrated has like a 50, a 35, and an 85,
which is a really solid setup. That's a good kit.
It's
and
a good wedding. We're prime shooters over here at Camera Shop Talk.
Yep. No more calibrations, please.
Oh, I mean, we'll have to start like tricking people into calibrating their lenses, because no one's going to need to calibrate their lenses once mirrorless cameras like take over.
Oh, sensor cleanings are fine.
Yeah, that's true.
It's easy to clean those sensors. So.
That's true. This is the crazy. Look at this lens, man. Look at that thing.
It's wild. It looks like a coffee mug.
Yeah, it's like it's part coffee mug, part like telescope.
It's it's definitely, it's got to have some sort of collapsible feature to it, I think. But
sure,
it doesn't look very wide or heavy. It looks like it's made out of lightweight plastic or something. So
this is their diffractive optics like technology. So it reduces chromatic aberration, and I feel like that has something to do with it being so small. That's why the that 70 to 300 that they have with the green ring, is like super tiny. It looks like it could be an L series 85.
That's an old lens. That's a pretty. They started that stuff a long time ago. We haven't really seen anything since. So I wonder if they've just been working on it this long.
Yeah.
But there, it says excellent portability with extending / retracting locking lens barrel design. That's a long way to describe that. It collapses to get smaller.
Right. It doesn't look like it collapsed. So it must like.
I think right at that seam there.
Okay, so this is you can.
That looks like a little grip, and you pull that out.
Right.
That's probably how that works. So.
Got better eyes than I do, Mitch. And then for people who don't want to be big ballers, you can just go with the 600 f11. I mean,
600 is still really long.
600 is really long, but I mean, what is this 600 going to cost us? 600, it's probably going to. I mean, if the 800 costs $899, the 600 is
it's probably going to be about the same.
600 F is going to be $699.
Oh wow!
So for $200 more, you get 200 more millimeters.
800's really tight, everyone.
That's true. You're going to be like
600's already tight, so you may not even need 800. We always talk about the lens is never long enough, but then it's also always too long at the same time. So it's and it's a prime, so you're stuck. But the 600 though, that looks pretty small. Looks really compact.
Yeah. I was worried about the lenses they were going to release and what the price was going to be, but maybe they were like, okay, we need to
do something crazy
for people.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We talk about this all the time. We have a lot of enthusiastic bird photographers and wildlife photographers at our store, and they're always looking for that 150 to 600 from Tamron, which is a lighter weight option and much more inexpensive option than a prime, or some of the even faster zooms, still like a 200 to 400 or something like that. And a lot of the issue for getting into shooting wildlife or sports, probably wouldn't do a lot of sports with these lenses, but wildlife you could, with a full frame or even an APS-C interchangeable lens camera, is just the size and cost of getting into that style lens. And it's I think the expectations for those lenses, when you see them on the shelf, you see this big telescope sitting there, and you're like, oh, that zooms all the way to a crater on the moon. Right. If you're just getting started, it doesn't zoom any farther than a lot of the kit lenses that come with, like the kit telephotos that come with the crop sensor bodies, and it costs so much more. So this being really affordable, it would pair really well even with the cheaper bodies from Canon, like the RP. If you put an 800 millimeter on the RP, you've got a really good wildlife setup for less than $2,000. Right. Which would be,
it'd be sweet to go out, take that lens to Yellowstone or something like that. Yeah. You have all these animals who smell you from a mile away.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you can shoot them from a mile away.
Yeah, you can shoot grizzly bears from a safe distance now.
Exactly. Yeah. You just have to have some good light.
Yep. But good light, you need it anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But I want to talk about one downside to this camera.
Okay.
It is not all rainbows and butterflies, everyone.
Where's the butt, Mitch?
This battery is going to struggle.
You think it's going to struggle? They just they released a new battery.
It's a new battery, but I don't think it's enough. I think you're going to have that grip to have an enjoyable experience with the R5 at least. If you're going to do any video, I mean, this is a lot of, it's still the LPE6 battery. I know it's like so what percent better, but even still, those batteries weren't as good as like the new Z battery from Sony. Those last forever.
Right.
But we're adding more and more stuff for this battery to power. We've got in-body stabilization. We've got much faster autofocus speeds and much faster processors, and we've got faster frames per second as well, and a more brighter EVF, I think, and all this stuff. So all this adds up. I think we're going to be looking at maybe not the best battery life on these two cameras, but
right.
The grip is great.
Yeah,
a lot of people are probably going to get the grip.
grip.
But I think that's one thing we still need to see improved upon is battery life. Just really maximizing. This is a big camera now. We're not trying to make these small mirrorless cameras. We've got to really maximize the space for battery power in these cameras. It's really
right.
matter. But that's one thing that I think is not going to be stellar. It's not going to be terrible. It'll be better than the RP, but I don't think it's going to be as good as even a 5D4, I think. So
right. Well, we'll see. Only time will tell. Yeah. So
I think it was rated at like 200 shots or something like that, though. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is kind of bad. If you're interested in either of these cameras or any of these lenses, you can slide into our messages and say, hey, Kyle, I want to pre-order that EOS R5. I think we already have 3 on pre-order, Mitch.
That's great.
Yeah.
We're going to have some pretty happy Canon shooters. Sure. You could do that on Instagram. You could email us.
Yeah.
You can call us.
Call us. I mean, call us, beep us if you want to reach us.
Yeah. You could tell us right now.
In the comments. You could in the comments be like, put me down, Kyle, and I'll do it for you. But that's how it's going to work. So if you want to get yourself on the special order list, the pre-order list before, and get your camera before everyone else in Denver gets theirs.
You can be the new killer, brand new look at me camera guy.
I'm telling you, every once in a while it happens where we'll have like stuff that B&H is just completely back ordered on.
Yeah, everybody gets one, I think, from these. I mean, the manufacturers are usually pretty good about giving every dealer a little bit of a little piece of the pie. But yeah, really excited to see how people take to these cameras. I think they're really going to love them. And there's going to be a whole new wave of mirrorless transitions coming forward. We're going to get probably a ton of ton more used EF glass is probably going to come through.
That's true.
I think we're going to see a little less of the adapted lenses, because you got to remember too, if you're thinking you're going to switch all of your current EF lenses to this R5 or R6 and get the awesome autofocus performance that they're touting, it's not going to be the case. You need to have those native lenses to get that really great mirrorless experience out of it, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So I think we're going to see a lot more trading in of those EF lenses, which is great for the people who
aren't switching yet.
Yeah, aren't switching, or they are switching and they want a more affordable option. I mean, that's always been a really big strength of Canon, is how many lenses are available, new and used, and we've got tons, and we'll probably see a lot more now with this.
Right. I'm looking forward to it. Our Canon case is looking a little dry, folks.
Yeah.
So bring some stuff in. We are buying and trading gear.
Yeah. Same thing with Sony too. We're probably going to see a lot of used Sony gear come in, because there will be people who will inevitably switch. There's going to be plenty of people too who are still buying Sony. And I say that like, oh, you're still buying Sony. I mean, Sony, it's still, I mean, this Canon is basically, it's now what Sonys are. So they're pretty equal. I mean, I know it's neck and neck. They're pretty equal. So
let the mirrorless camera race begin. Let's do it.
It's going to be fun.
Supposedly Nikon's dropping their Z6S and their Z7S. But when you put S on the end of your camera, I feel like we shouldn't take you very seriously. Like, you didn't want to just do a whole reboot. You just wanted to put an S.
Well, send it, Nikon.
Send it, Nikon.
Send it.
Doesn't matter.
We go full send.
Reply to our emails. Okay. This has been, Mitch, are you good? Do you think we've given?
I think we've talked about it. I think we got to hype it up a little bit. Hello, kitten.
he just looks so just like F you. But yeah, the EOS R5, $3,900. The EOS
or the R6
or the R6 for $2,500. Both great cameras. They're shipping in August, so make sure you get on the pre-order list. This has been Camera Shop Talk for whatever day it is in July. We'll be back sometime when we feel like it.
Yep. Congratulations, Canon,
Yeah.
on a great release. Everybody loves it. Everybody's saying, wow, look at this new camera, which is great.
Exactly.
And congratulations to Canon shooters.
For sure.
You're going to have a cool new toy to play with. So
yeah, congratulations on the win. At least, well, I guess it is a win.
Take it as a win today. It's a big win for Canon. It's a larger win for mirrorless in general. So
yeah. One small step for Canon, one gigantic step for mirrorless users.
Almost.
All right. Let's get out of here. Coming to the shop, we're open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, 9 to 5, possibly extending our hours to 9 to 6 soon. So.
And bring your mask.
And bring your mask. Or just wear a kitten over your face. All right.